Been staring at this box for like a week, desperately wanting to open it. It's killing me inside.
Hello friends, and welcome back if you're new here. My name is Kiki. I am a nerd, love fantasy, love medieval stuff, love to do a little craft and go on a little adventure. And today we are making a craft. This craft is a little bit unique though, because this craft is a surprise for someone else. It's a surprise for a YouTube channel that I definitely admire, and that would be SkillTree. If you are into LARP or like prop making, definitely check out SkillTree. When I found out about LARP like 2 years ago, I started watching their channel to kind of get ideas for what I could make for my own experiences, and I have just had so much fun watching their content, and I'm very excited to be making a little present for Kit today. So, as I've stated before in previous videos, I'm going to the Brandywine Festival, which is going to be in Harrodsburg, Kentucky in October. It's going to be a Hobbit LARP festival. Can't wait. And as always, even though it's far away, I have to make things for it, or else I'll go insane. When I found out that SkillTree was going to be coming to the Brandywine Festival also, I got very excited because I love their content. Kit and I got to chatting about our characters and the event and what we were looking forward to, and an idea struck me. If you know anything about hobbits, you probably know that they love receiving gifts just as much as they like giving gifts. So, in true hobbit fashion, we decided that we would both give each other a surprise craft based on our character for this event. So I will be attending this event as my character named Fennel Fairbow. Fennel loves gardening, making specialized brews of tea, pickling any food because, you know, your own interests tend to bleed into your characters anyway.
Right there. But I was like, that's why I was like, hey, is it okay if I like actually kick?
Fennel likes swimming, playing simple strategy games like Bagchal and Mancala. And the last thing that they also love is to sketch bugs and birds and just admire the little creatures around. So that is a little intro to my character. I have no idea what Kit will be making for me. So I just gotta wait until it shows up, and I'm very excited. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Kit's character, and that will kind of give you some insight into why I'm making what I'm making. So Kit's character is named Tobias Briarcloak. He is an upper class hobbit. He's very curious and friendly, and he is also a Matham hunter. So Matham is the term used by hobbits for cool items that don't really have a use, but they're not willing to throw them away or discard them. So they're just kind of like fun trinkets and treasures and things. Though he is an upper class hobbit, you would never guess it based on his dirty, dusty, ink-stained clothing that he does not care for too much. And as a Matham hunter, he's of course always collecting little odd trinkets and things around that just might prove to be useful to somebody. That's why you can't get rid of any of them, you know? Tobias is the type to get lost in a book mid-conversation, which is why he's not a great host, but he loves going to other people's events. He is fond of hearing other hobbits' stories, as well as tasty snacks, just like most hobbits. I wanted to do my best to make something for Kit that he wouldn't make for himself. So I got to thinking, I have not seen a lot of sewing on the SkillTree channels. I'm no expert, and I'm always learning something new the hard way, unfortunately. But I figured because I want to improve my sewing skills anyway, this is a good opportunity for me to try something new and make something for Kit that hopefully he would not make for himself. So what I decided to do was to make him a fancy hobbit vest, a little bit worn and dirty, with trinkets bursting out from all the pockets. So that is what we are going to be making today in this video. So the very first part of this project is, of course, we need to find a pattern and some fabric. I went to my local thrift store because I love thrifting fabric. I find some of the coolest stuff there. And as I was browsing, I found this really pretty silky fabric. It was like a salmon color, almost looked like it had wood grain in it, very pretty. I figured the silkiness of this fabric would kind of lend itself to a more upper class Hobbit, but because it's a lighter color, I can still dye it. The next step was to find a pattern. So I found this pattern on Etsy. I will link it below. It came with a YouTube tutorial as well when I bought it, so I'm not going to be going like super in-depth with this. You will probably have a better time watching the other video that's dedicated to that. So we're just going to kind of summarize here. I had my 30 pages of pattern pieces that I needed to puzzle together and cut out. Puzzling it together wasn't too hard because they're printed in a pretty good order, so I got that all done. Once the patterns were assembled and cut out, I could then take that to my fabric and cut out all the pieces I needed to sew. I pretty much just wing it whenever I sew. I took sewing classes as a kid, so I know the basics, and that's gotten me by forever. But I kind of want to try something a little more advanced. Again, since this is an upper class character, I figured I could make a fancy vest with a fancy lining and then destroy it a little to make it fit the character, which, not to get ahead of myself, but it did feel a little bit illegal, okay? I had all the pieces cut out, but definitely wanted the exterior to be a different color. Kit said that his character kind of gravitates to more neutral tones, like maroons and browns and such. So I figured I could make this salmon color turn a bit more brownish, maroonish. I did a sample piece, and it took the dye well, so because I didn't know exactly what this thrifted fabric was made up of, I did add some salt, vinegar, and dish soap into the dye, which I used a brown and a little bit of red to kind of give it the color I wanted, and that seemed to help it take the color better. Here is where I ran into one of my first small problems, but when I did my test piece, I cut off a little piece, tested it in the hot dye, and there was no shrinkage. For some reason, when I cut out the pattern pieces and dyed them all together, mixing them around, they weren't getting any more or less heat than the other pieces. Some of them shrunk a tiny bit and some of them didn't. And I didn't realize until it was a little too late to rectify that situation. So, yeah. Once I had it all dyed, I rinsed it out like 3 or 4 times each and then just left them out to dry overnight. In hindsight, I probably should have just dyed the entire bolt of fabric first, but I did not have a vessel big enough to contain this massive amount of fabric that I thrifted, which was $2.99 by the way. Very good score. So that happened, but we learned from our mistakes. Another thing I've never done before is use interfacing, so that was interesting. I kind of like interfacing though. I think it definitely adds structure, and even though I was confused a couple of times, I think it does help a lot with the overall appearance of the vest. This was kind of just a 3-day long adventure of me matching up pieces, sewing them together, and following the instructions on the YouTube video as best as I could. There is no spoken instruction on the YouTube video, so between like the written directions and the video, I was kind of puzzling it together on my own. I'm not great at patterns. I've used one pattern in the past 8 years, which was in one of my recent videos actually. So this is probably more of a me thing. But yeah, definitely took a little bit of extra thought on my part. Overall though, I really did enjoy the process of sewing this. It got a little confusing and frustrating at times. I definitely had to unpick a few things and start over on some things. But when I was finished with it, I was very, very excited because it's always nice to turn, you know, a random piece of fabric into a wearable item. Hello, it's Editing Kiki, and I totally forgot to talk about an entire chunk of this project, so here I am telling you now. Another thing I did for this project was lino cut printing. While I have done lino cut printing before on paper, I've never done it on fabric, so this was kind of new to me. I decided to carve out a compass rose because Tobias likes maps and I thought that suited his character nicely. So once I had it all carved out, I practiced a couple times on a piece of paper, and then I was finally confident enough to actually do it on the chest pocket. Another little detail I decided to add was carving out his name and stamping it on a little piece inside of the lining on top of the pocket. So this is actually for pens and pipes, and it turned out so cute. I'm really glad that I added this detail. Once the vest was fully completed, I could now start destroying it. So I used a couple different methods for this. To get the fabric looking a little worn, I used a seam ripper to kind of like, you know, rip little holes in it. And then I did go over the frayed edges with fray check, which makes it so it's not going to continue to turn into giant holes. But it also has the added benefit for my use of making it look a little bit stained. It does leave a bit of a dark outline around where you use it. Another method that I used was sandpaper. This kind of was a more subtle effect, but it makes it look like the fabric has been like rubbed against something a lot, which does help make it look like it's a well-loved item, especially for a LARP character. And then I also went in with a little bit of spray paint, just speckling the edges, and some watered down acrylic paint to give it a dirty look on the hem of the vest, because Kit literally said that he is constantly covered in road dust and ink stains, so I had to incorporate that. For some added effect of wear and tear, I got some embroidery thread in a contrasting color. I chose like this kind of greenish color, and I just stitched up a bunch of random areas, added a little patch to one of the pockets, and that definitely made it look like it was a worn object that had been repaired. I used the same idea when doing the buttons. I used these very pretty silver buttons that I think could have come on the vest, so I used a matching thread to sew those on, but one button I replaced with a wooden one and some of that matching green thread, which I'll come back to later. Now the final thing to do is to cover it in trinkets. Tobias was described to me as bursting at the seams of his pockets with trinkets, so I felt like I needed to deliver on that. But I wanted to do it in a way that wasn't permanent. I didn't want the trinkets to actually fall out of the pocket, but I wanted it to be removable. So what I ended up doing was getting some thick cardboard and cutting it to size of the pockets. I then wrapped that in some of the fabric just to make it look a little cleaner. And then using hot glue, I attached a bunch of random trinkets to it. I used pearl beads, sea glass, a stick with a little rune on it, some charms. On the back of the inserts, I even added a little strip of fabric that you can attach necklaces to have them, you know, kind of dangling over the side of the pocket, but they're actually attached in there on the little pocket thing, so they won't fall out. This gives a really fun effect of having your pockets full of trinkets, but if you don't want that and you want to actually use your pockets for something one day, you can just take out those inserts. You could also make new inserts and replace them with other things if you really wanted. One of the last things I decided to do was add more trinkets because I didn't think there were enough. So I took a little eyelet and I attached that to the upper chest pocket. I used one of those little like book binding rings because they can open and close easily, which means you can either just take it fully off and switch out the trinkets or, you know, do whatever you want with it. And on that, I decided to add a couple special trinkets. So I had this key, definitely didn't fit the vibe color-wise, so I gave it a little paint job. Makes it look a lot more antique. I added a tiny jar full of little buttons and a safety pin that I wax sealed. And then my partner Nick donated this dried morel mushroom that somebody gifted him at an art show. I added a little cord to the bottom so that it could be hung upside down off of this ring. And that was the final trinket that I added to this vest, which I think is a very special Hobbit-y trinket, because you know what Hobbit does not love mushrooms. I also included another element on the inside, which is this little dangling piece of fabric with loops on it so that he can attach more trinkets on the inside if he wanted, like a key ring or, you know, stuff like that. And then I also added the other button that I had, the wooden button that went on the outside. Now coming back to that green thread, I decided, because this is a well-worn vest that Tobias would use like on the daily, I wanted there to be an in-character reason for it to be coming from my character, just because I thought that that would be really fun. So I wrote a letter to go on the inside pocket of the vest that's from my character Fennel to Tobias, and it basically says, I can't believe you've left your vest again. You left it hanging on a post outside. I took it home for its own safety and repaired it. Don't worry, I didn't take any trinkets. I maybe even added a few. So that means that all of the little elements sewn together with that greenish thread would be things that my character fixed for Tobias because they knew he wasn't going to do it himself. And I just thought that was a fun little like narrative reason for the wooden button to be sewn on with different thread, like it's something that was replaced by Fennel. And that is the completion of the vest. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It's not perfect. It's a little wonky if you look super close, but I also don't think it would have been made by my hands if it didn't come out a little wonky in some way. So I think that's accurate. Because it came out a little wonky, I'm not 100% confident in the way it's going to fit. It still measures out correctly in theory, but it's hard to make clothing for a human that you've never seen in real life, so I'll have no idea if this fits him until he gets it, so let's hope it didn't come out too weird. But to account for that, I did make these button straps stretchy. I didn't want to do buttonholes, so I'm hoping that this method of closing it up will kind of make sure that that's not an issue. I really like how the trinkets are looking. I think it's fun that they can be pulled out and put back in. I really like how the lining came out. Here's the little letter in here. Here's the little pipe holder and pocket with his name on it. Overall, I think the color that I dyed it came out pretty good. It could have been a little darker, but this fabric was only going to dye as dark as it did and didn't want to do any more than that. So I'll take it. At least it's not salmon color, which we can see on the inside. I just like looking at it. I think I spent 5 days making this, and it was a labor of love. It was a little confusing at times, and I feel like I have grown with this vest, so I really hope it fits. I'm excited to get Kit's reaction. When I went to grab my wrapping supplies so I can ship this bad boy, I realized I needed another trinket on here. I walked past some things and I thought, oh, trinkets, there we go. So I'm going to show you. I wanted something else to go on the inside here. So on this little interior clip thingy with that button that I attached earlier, I added this little wood burn trinket. It's from Beekaline. I made these to give out and I had some extra. And then here's a little jar. I put a little twine rope on there so it can dangle. It's full of lots of little shells, beads, some moss, a piece of sea glass, a little pearl, just good dangly stuff. And I put a wax seal so that it can dangle and have a little more intrigue. Not that this needed more, but I have the gene where I can't stop sometimes, so. Okay, now I'm actually gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna send my child out into the world, and we will, we'll see what Kit thinks, so here we go.
I've been sitting on this thing for a long time.
You should go first. I'm also like, yeah, I'm really excited to see you open it, so.
I've been staring at this box for like a week, desperately wanting to open it. It's killing me inside, so I have to open it now.
Now's the time.
Now is the time. Now is the time. Do I have to be extra careful opening it? Is something going to explode if I cut into it? Or?
You should be good. Just don't use too much force downward. You should be fine.
Okay.
Oh, I feel this is like I'm a real hobbit. I love giving gifts just as much as I love receiving them, so I'm excited right now.
Yes, same. That's why like I've been poking you the whole time, being like, I can't wait to give you thing. Oh, I see fabric. Oh my god, I was this article of clothing. Yes. Anybody watching on the camera, it's the only thing I wanted was clothing. There. Let me see. And it is vest. Yes. Yay. Oh, it's awesome. Look at all the stuff you have in it.
So there's
How
a
does
little
that-
note in one of
how'd
the
you get on
inside
it?
pockets.
Oh, fancy. Shall I read the note?
Yes, of course.
There's a stamp. Did you hand carve a stamp?
I did. It's part of the
That's
inside
awesome.
of the jacket, and I'm like, well, I don't need this anymore. It's your character name, so.
Oh yeah, you stamped it on the inside of the jacket. That's awesome. I should have wrote you a little note. I was
Oh, that's okay. I thought
very
this
last
was
minute
a.
stressed.
I wanted to make it a fun in-character reason for you to be receiving this item.
Receiving a vest. Yeah, that makes sense. I've got to go through all the stuff in the pockets, but first, dear Tobias, this is me. You left your vest behind again. Truly, I don't know how it manages to wander off so often, but I've taken it home this time for its own safety. Really, I appreciate that. I do. I gave it a good. Well, you gave it a good wash. The smell is part of the appeal, or best that I could manage.
There it is.
Though I must admit, some of the dirt and ink seem to be permanent residents. Yeah, exactly. Still, it's leagues fresher than when I found it draped over that fence post like a lost flag. That makes perfect sense for my character. While I had it, I went ahead and patched and sewed up the worst of the wear, finally replacing that missing button too. Oh yeah. Nice touch.
Thanks.
I figured I might as well, as I know you wouldn't have gotten around to it until the pocket fell clean up. That is 100% true. Don't worry, now it's a little less likely to fall apart mid-pipe smoke. And before you even ask, no, not a single trinket has gone missing. In fact, I may have added a few new surprises. For your excitement, consider it a treasure hunt next time you're fidgeting through your pockets. Try your best not to lose it again, won't you? I'll see you soon. I hope with pipes in our hands and something warm on the table. Until then, take care of yourself and your clothing. Warmly, Fennel Fabro. That is really sweet. I like that. I like the character building into it too. Look at all the little wares and stuff. I love that.
All of the wear and like the button are sewn on with a different color thread to kind of be like a little in-character reason for it to be not matching.
Did you beat the hell out of this thing or like?
I did a little bit and it felt like illegal. I was like taking a seam ripper and like sandpaper to it. I'm like, this
You're
feels
just like, oh,
really
God.
bad.
Yeah, like the first article of clothing I ever made was on the channel, and then I immediately beat the hell out of it to like make it wear, and it made me feel horrible. I love this little mushroom here.
Isn't that cute?
really cool.
So all the trinkets are removable. So all the things in the pockets are on little sliders that come out. So that if you don't want
That
them
is
in there,
so
you can just take them
smart.
out. Or you can make your own little pocket inserts if you want specific things hanging
I
out.
love that.
I just didn't
You
want
know, I
anything to be
never-
permanent or fall out, so.
Yeah, I never would have thought of doing that. So like your pockets can look overstuffed with things, but the things aren't all falling out. I legitimately would have just overstuffed my pocket with things. My pants are all like dragging and stuff.
I didn't want to be like responsible for any lost trinkets. Your character would be so upset with me.
It is funny because I think it's one of those things that like sometimes when you LARP, you are just yourself, but in that world, this is very much me. You can't see just off stage right the complete shit show that my workshop is.
Oh, me too.
With the leavings of your thing. Yeah. Thank you. I really, really like this. This is awesome. And
Of course.
so needed.
I
So
hope that it
incredibly needed.
fits because I've never made clothing
yeah,
for another human being that I have not met in person. So
Did you make it?
yeah, I handmade the vest. I did a lot of like new techniques that I've never tried before. So I ended up doing like interfacing and lino cut
It
printing
fits-
on it.
It fits perfect.
Yay,
Like-
good.
It fits like really perfect. That's great.
Oh, good. I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
I'm trying not to bang the mic too much here, but like, that fits
And
perfect.
then on
Thank
the,
you.
of course, I'm glad you like it. On the exterior chest
I really
pocket, I hand stamped a little compass rose with like cinderin. I believe it's
Yes.
cinderin. It's just what I found on the internet, but it's all of the directions. And then on the inside,
Internet Elvish.
yeah, I'm hoping the internet didn't lie to me. The inside little thing that has your character's name on it, it's actually for slipping a pipe into, so you can hold your pipe in
Ooh.
like a little holster inside.
I love this. I came prepared.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like a pipe smoking quick draw here. Ah.
Right? You
I
could also
love
use it
that.
for
That's
pens
great.
and stuff, but you know, pipes are more important.
I'll probably need to bring a smaller stemmed. This one's like egregiously long. This is what I made here.
Mine is also pretty long, but it's the vibes, you know, you have to.
It's all about the vibes. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, I'm so happy it fits.
Yeah, I am so impressed that you made this. At first I thought, because I know we had talked about maybe you doing like a thrift shop thing and then like retconning it or whatever. Like this is really, really, and it fits perfect.
So all of the fabric is thrifted, actually. I thrifted a giant panel of like salmon colored fabric. So I dyed the exterior pieces and I left the lining that like salmon-y color. And I used interfacing for the first time. It was a little scary, but it worked out well. Yeah.
No, it's great. No,
there were some minor hiccups, but I feel like it actually came together, so it's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you got this piece and then you like did stuff to it in order to put it in character, but you made it from scratch. It's badass. Yeah. It's so good.
Thanks.
Like I confused it with a thing that was professionally made. I was like, oh cool.
Yay!
Like,
Oh my gosh.
and whatever.
That makes me so
really
happy
good.
because
yeah.
I've never tried to make something like this. It had like a lot more steps than I'm used to, and I'm trying to get better at sewing and understanding patterns because I just kind of wing it. So it was a good learning experience for me as well.
Sewing is black magic, so you did a great job.
I wanted to make you something that I didn't think you'd make yourself, and I'm like, I doubt he'll sew himself a waistcoat, so.
100%, yeah.
That was the decision-making process.
I have like a pattern for it forever. We've had a pattern for it for like 2 years. And whenever we have like a lull and we're like, what are we gonna do? Maddie's always like, you could sew the waistcoat. And I'm like, I could. Or
I could not. I fully understand that.
I could not do sewing and do something else.
Yeah, sewing is tricky, but it came together and I'm really happy it fits you and I'm really glad you like it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm desperate for you to open this. I'm desperate for you to open this package.
Okay, I'm gonna open mine now. I'm really excited. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun making a gift for Kit, especially because he thought that I bought it like that, which was mind-blowing to me because, as I told you, I thought it was a little wonky, but I'm really happy with how it came out, happy it fits him. I think it suits his character really well, and it will be a perfect thing for him to wear at the Brandywine Festival. Speaking of the Brandywine Festival, it is nearing the final hours, really, to get a ticket. So if you do want to join us at the Brandywine Festival, check out my description. I have a link to the Kickstarter where you can get a ticket. Once they are done selling, they are done. So now's your chance if you want to come. If you enjoyed this video, I think you will really enjoy what Kit made for me in his video, so make sure you check that out. I will have it right here for you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I will see you again soon.